Hey there, Business for Unicorns podcast listeners. This is Mark, and I'm here to tell you about an awesome free resource on businessforunicorns.com. If you ever find yourself feeling frustrated with your training gym because you know that there are all sorts of things you could work on, but you're not really sure how to prioritize, you don't know what's the most important thing to work on or what order you should be tackling your priorities, well, now is the time to go to businessforunicorns.com, click the button, and fill out our free self-assessment. With the Ultimate Training Gym Owner Report Card, you will gain immediate clarity on just where to be focusing your attention to create more positive impact on your community, to drive more revenue and take home income, and to do it all with less stress and more peace of mind. So go to businessofunicorns.com, click the button, fill out that free self-assessment, and start building a business and life you love today.
Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business for Unicorns podcast. And today I'm here with my friend and Unicorn Society member, Matt Kasee. Hello, Matt. How are you, my friend?
Hello, Michael. How are you today?
It's so good to talk to you. For those of you who don't know Matt, Matt has been a member of Unicorn Society for a few years now. I'll let him say more about that. He is the owner and founder of Trilogy Fitness Systems in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Matt just got married this past weekend from the day we're recording this. So congratulations. How was the wedding?
Thank you. It was pretty awesome. We had 150 people there. Barbara, my now wife, which is still kind of weird to say, she let me actually get a mascot to come. So we had the Bengals mascot came. We had a ridiculous fireworks show from some of our amazing members of the gym. Surprised Barbara with that, and it was probably the coolest thing I've ever experienced.
That's amazing. I love it. A mascot and fireworks. I mean, what more can you ask for?
That's all you need in life,
Did I also
really.
see on Instagram, and maybe this is TMI for our audience, but I know you can handle it. I think I saw on Instagram, were you eating a hot dog on the dance floor? Was that a thing?
Yeah, so my patented dance move in weddings is cake/food on the dance floor.
Wow.
While eating and still dancing because you need the calories to, fuel the beast.
Yeah, that just makes sense. That's just a good strategy.
The Cincinnati staple. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, do you don't mind not maybe just introduce yourself to our audience a little bit? Just say a little bit about Trilogy Fitness Systems, how long you've been a Unicorn Society member. Let's just start there.
Yeah. So Trilogy Fitness Systems, it's a semi-private small group personal training gym in Cincinnati, Ohio. We've got about 160-ish members. I've been in Unicorn Society since December of 2019.
Got it.
December 2019.
Amazing. Well, I'm so glad to have you on the podcast. I mean, what a fucking treat. And here's a topic we all decided to talk about recently, my friends. So one of the things that's been going on for Matt, which is what we typically call a great problem to have, is that he's been really growing over the last year or two. And as many of you know who've had the wonderful problem of quick growth, it also comes with problems. It also comes with its own challenges. Like many of us want to grow. We want to get bigger. We want more clients. We want to have a bigger impact. We want to make more money. And it's not always an easy road. So talk to us a little bit, Matt, first about what have you been doing that's been fueling this growth? For starters, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how to navigate the issues and challenges surrounding growth. But what have you been doing that's been making you grow?
We were really lazy with referral initiatives inside the gym for a long time. We just kind of lazily just figure, people love us, they're going to tell everybody. So we've started really pushing that. We've really been pushing the Google reviews and kind of the Google business page, which has helped a lot. So we haven't done a whole lot of paid stuff because the focus has pretty much just been the Google stuff and referrals. So that the growth really kicked in right after we reopened after all the shutdowns and everything. We had a pretty good sized growth, and then it continued into last year where people weren't leaving, everyone was staying around, which is amazing. But then we had to, staff and do all these extra things. So biggest thing was just that strong referral pushes and actually organizing them.
Yeah, good for you. I mean, I love the idea that, this big boost of growth came from just being awesome at the basics, right? Like just crushing. This is so true in fitness too, right? If people want good results in fitness, just do the meat and potatoes workouts consistently and you will get results.
Yeah.
The same thing is true in fitness. If you want growth, just focus on being great at referrals, focus on getting great Google reviews and making sure that Google profile is up to date and active. And I love that you're like, we didn't even spend more money on paid ads. We just did those things and had good retention. So what's been keeping people around? Why has your retention been so good?
We have a good onboarding system with our members when they first start up. We do a ton of follow up when everybody first starts. We kind of trickle them all this information for them to have, and I think we just do a really good job of the service side of the trainers actually kind of welcoming people. So we had a lady who recently did an assessment, started up, and she was sitting in the office with me. She's like, I feel like I can just tell you everything, and just like they just talk to you. So like, oh, that's what we want. This is amazing. So I think letting people really feel welcome from day one helps that, and it kind of gets those hooks in right away.
That's amazing. I know you well enough to know that you guys do such a great job of creating a really inclusive culture, and on day one, people understanding, oh, I can bring my full self here. Right, I can tell you about all my bumps and bruises from the past. I can tell you about all my preferences. I can bring all of that, and you all will accept it with open arms, and that's huge, right? That's huge to set that tone from the beginning, and obviously, it's showing in your retention. So, bravo. So, let's talk about the growth, because what we really want to focus on in this conversation is kind of the pain points around growth and what you've been learning in navigating it. So, can you just talk a little bit about what are some of the pain points you've experienced over the last year or two? Since you're reopening, that have been associated with your growth. So what are the pain points you can point out?
So I guess it started with me for the first part of it. It was like a really hard mindset shift to, I need to be able to delegate certain tasks. I need to be able to let some things go. And some of the things I got rid of were just time wasters for me, that I had just little menial tasks I didn't need to be doing anymore. So then it was kind of this mindset shift of me. And then kind of that then led to more delegation of the staff. So it was kind of making more tasks available for them. Sometimes they love the new tasks. Other times it's been, I don't want to do this. So it's been a hard struggle from the mind shift to this role shifting, and then kind of how do we make all these things stick and then refine it as we go.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great summary. And let me just repeat back for listeners that what I think I'm hearing, which is the first thing you mentioned was this growth has triggered your understanding that you need to change your mindset about your role. And oftentimes we say that, we say that a lot. You probably heard me say it a million times, Matt, which is that oftentimes in the fitness business, the owner and the founder is the bottleneck to the business's growth, in part because they have a fixed mindset about their role. They have a fixed mindset about the tasks on their plate and how they manage the business. And so I think it's so wise of you to be recognizing that one of the things that have to happen for the growth to be possible, for the growth to keep going, is for me to get out of the damn way, which means my role and my mindset has to shift around what's on my plate and what I'm delegating. So that's really smart. I love that one. The second thing I heard was what's on the plates for my team, that my team's roles and tasks need to shift over time. Sometimes I give them stuff that they like and they're happy to have more responsibility. Sometimes they don't, right? And that's to deal with that. And then I think you said something about making it stick, which is once the roles have changed over time, then how do you make it sticky and hold them accountable and all that? I think that makes a ton of sense. And for any of you who are listening or watching that have had growth like that, I think that'll resonate, because it certainly resonates with me. Right, when we were growing MFF, all the time, Mark and I were like, okay, well, what do we now get off our plates so we can go do the next high leverage things, and how do we continue to shift our team's contributions so they can keep contributing more and more efficiently? Yeah, cool. So let's maybe just break these down a little bit. So just tell a little bit more about the mindset shift that you needed to change. Where did that idea come from?
I think the biggest thing was, you said as the bottleneck. I realized that I couldn't do everything. And then I realized that me being on the gym floor more, doing all those little day-to-day tasks, were what was slowing down all of the growth in the gym. So I kind of tried to keep balancing everything for a while until I was just burnt out. Yeah. I can't do it. Bring on a person, get the internship stuff set better. So we were able to then delegate and actually set those up. And then once I noticed that I could focus on things that I was actually enjoying more and things that are helping the business do more, it was an easy mindset shift to make after that.
If you would give everyone a few examples of things you were doing before the growth and then things you started to delegate off your plate and then take on. So just what kinds of tasks were moving on, excuse me, had a cough. We're moving on and off your plate over time.
The biggest thing was training. I mean, I was on the gym floor constantly at the beginning of 20 and towards the end of 2020. I was on the gym floor all the time. We hired one guy and I was able to kind of go to halftime with that. And that's when I realized that, we were able to delegate just like more of the cleaning task stuff because I was always doing the floors too. So it was, all right, we got this new guy, Zach's taking care of this. Great. That Friday afternoon's cleared out for me to take care of next week's emails for everything. And then it became no longer training all the time, so I can now do more client check-ins. I can put more content for them. So that whole year, I mean, we made, I'm sure you guys probably have the same thing where you put all this effort into videos and PDFs and nobody reads any of it kind of thing.
I know the feeling.
Sit there for reference. So we were able to actually put together content that would help the clients as well. And then I was able to then structure like our referral campaigns and structure more meaningful relationships with other people around the area as well to help kind of cultivate more awareness and growth for us.
Good for you. I think that, sounds like the big picture I'm getting is you transition from working in the business so much to working on the business more, right? So in the day-to-day of training, you wanted to delegate that off. So you got some people to do more training for you. So you could spend time big picture doing outreach in the community, building partnerships, building better content, creating better systems. Yeah, that's great. I'll also say this, that I just want to also normalize that I know some business owners, excuse me, I have to cough again. It's great for a podcast to have a coughing fit in the middle. That's great. At least I muted myself, so I'm not blowing out any eardrums. So one of the things I want to normalize is that I love that you recognize that what's more fun for you is not more training. It's actually less training and more time working on the business. And I know some people, and some people in Unicorn Society who've decided the opposite. They actually like staying on the floor. So what they do is they hire people to do the admin. They hire people to do the management. They hire people to run the facility, and because they like the training or the program design. And so I think it's really smart of you to recognize that what's really fun for Matt is to go work on the business, the big picture stuff. And so that's awesome. Good for you. So that's kind of the mindset shift is what you're describing here is deciding that your role has to shift and what you can contribute needs to change over time. But then you mentioned also then the delegating part, which is then changing the roles and responsibilities of your team. So kind of walk through what some of that looked like.
Yeah, so I mean, everybody who knows ML Truly, Helen is kind of the anchor of the gym, and we refer to her as the adult slash mean parent of the gym. So she's one who kind of organizes all the things. So she's then taken on more of a kind of a staff leadership role amongst everything, where she kind of, one person is the scheduling. So Zach does a lot of scheduling with Helen, where I no longer bother with it at all. If somebody sends us an email, it gets sent right to them, so I don't have to do those little day-to-day tasks. And I think those are those type of things that allow them to take more ownership. They have actually enjoyed that aspect of it because they're now more in control of their day-to-day.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I think it works really well when you have a team who's hungry for more responsibility and wants their roles to grow and wants to keep developing new skills. So you mentioned before that there's sometimes you need to delegate things that people don't want to do. Give me some examples of those and what'd you do?
The biggest one we've done, so I was always just kind of snapping pictures and videos just for our website, for Instagram, all those kind of things. But with me being on the floor now only, 5 to 10 hours a week right now, there's just, I don't have any of that. So trying to get them to, we have a separate group chat where going, all right, send me 2 pictures and 2 videos a day. That's all we need, just a couple things. And it's been kind of like pulling teeth a little bit. They're focused on other things. Like, it takes 2 seconds. Just come on, snap something and just send it to me. I don't care if it's not good. But getting those little extra things, and now that I'm saying it out loud, it's probably one of those things where I haven't expressed why that's important, kind of thing. So but I mean, it's been those small day-to-day little detail tasks that I used to obsess about that people aren't going to look at it the same lens that the owner looks at it
Of
from.
course. Isn't it wild that one of the tasks you have pushback on is just like taking pictures and videos? Because I feel like everyone's just obsessed with being on their phones all the time. You would think that would be such an easy task for everyone to like, y'all, I'm saying it's okay for you to have your phone on the floor to take pictures and videos.
Yeah.
Like, what's hard about that? But I think to your point, I think one of the things that's often missing as leaders, and it's great that you have the self-awareness to recognize this for yourself, is that we don't share enough about the why. So it feels like, oh, just another damn thing Matt's asking us to do, without the importance of like, y'all, us putting up content like this that reflects what it looks like inside our gym and how we interact with our clients. This is the thing that drives business. This is how we get more clients. This is how we show the world the great work we do inside these walls. So I need regular content for, sharing the why like that, I think is often what's missing. So it's great that you could recognize that.
Do you have any pro tips for big dumb meatheads like me that takes it forever to then say it, and then it finally clicks in our brain?
Well, honestly, the thing that I do sometimes when I have to delegate things or I need to change people's roles is you've heard me say this before probably is that I make like talking points for myself. Like I pretend like I'm my own PR agency, and I make little talking points. Okay, well, what I'm going to share. Here's what I'm going to share. And this. I also sometimes will make slide decks, especially if I'm communicating to like our whole team about changes in their roles or responsibilities. Like I'll write it down for them so they can see it in black and white, and then I'll also have talking points to keep myself on track. And that helps me remember that one of the talking points should be the why. Right? One of the talking points, not just like the who and the what and the when, but like the why is probably the most important one for me to share. And when I write it down like that in advance, it makes it less likely I'll forget. Not impossible, but
Yeah.
but less likely. Yeah. So I mean, that's my one tip is just really write it down for yourselves. And that's not always possible, right? Sometimes you're changing roles on the fly and it's a small tweak here or there. But I think what you shared is a great example of like, I'm going to ask everyone moving forward to now record, 2 videos and a picture or whatever it was every day and send it to this account or this email address. That's a pretty big ask. Every day moving forward forever, right? And so that's a good example of one I probably would have written down or made a little slide deck or something, some bullet pointed talking points. That's my process at least.
Note for next staff.
Yeah,
meeting.
that's it. That's it. So I think when it's difficult like that, it's when the task is not very easily received. Not everyone like jumps at the idea of doing something like creating videos and images every day. Then it's really hard to make it sticky. And then, then we get into kind of accountability territory of like, how do we hold everyone accountable to these new roles and responsibilities? So what are some accountability tools that you've seen both work and not work as you've grown over the last few years?
So the first one that has not worked was just kind of assuming things get done if they say they're going to get done. Because I just my brain always works as, with all the growth, I was able to pick up teaching to kind of do some long-term type of stuff where with the students is the easiest example where if I do something that's going to take me 2-3 minutes, I just do it and get done with it.
Yeah.
Nobody else does that kind of thing.
And for context for our listeners, Matt's doing teaching outside of college, university level. So outside of the gym teaching.
Sorry.
And in that context, you're right. Like students just do what the teacher says or you fail. Right? Do the assignment.
Yeah.
You're done. It's a different environment. So keep on going.
Yeah, sorry. So with them, it's like the most obvious. But then even in the staff, like the picture thing, it seems like such an easy little thing, but it just kind of gets kicked down the road. So we've tried to do a very casual, hey, we're going to do it. We check in sporadically. There's no enforcement of it or anything. But we've started now tasking out in our weekly staff meetings. Like when there's projects and things that need to get done, we actually now have accountability process in it where we check in on progress. They kind of tag us in Google Docs. So we have constant running forms for any big task and project that we're doing. If anything has to get done, like I have to get copied onto it in a comment so I can mark it as resolved and do all those type of things. Right. The nice thing is we now have that perk is I've been able to then take that, refine it, and actually have the time to make notes and let it get better, which we'd never done before. Before it would just, we're grand ideas of doing whatever task, whatever challenge, whatever new course we're going to do. And then it would just fall apart within 2 months and we'd all forget about it and be moving on to something else.
100%. Can you maybe give me an example of a project that goes into a Google Doc and you're all tracking action steps, or maybe one that gets discussed in like a weekly team meeting? So, give me an example of one that is where you use one or both of those tools.
So the biggest one that we do, with this small group personal training style that we do, if there's ever somebody fell on a hike or tweaked their knee or anything kind of funky happens, we have a Google Doc where everybody puts any bit of relevant information possible. They have a goal change. They're running the marathon this past weekend in Cincinnati. We have a constant check of everything. We check it every day, and then we review it. Usually every other staff meeting, we just kind of do a quick check through to see if there's been any big changes in anybody. So that's our easy way to make sure everybody stays on the same page. Whether they're training with me, Zach, Helen, or Halen, they all know that they're going to have the same information set apart for everybody.
That's great. That's great. What's an example of a project or a task that you would actually stay accountable for in a team meeting and kind of hold them accountable to there?
So we're working on kind of like one of those 6-week kind of challenging programs, which we then punted because we realized we didn't have the capacity for right now. We made an easier one where we're just doing a walking challenge right now. So we have the Google Docs with a step counter, where every week in our staff meeting, we will now be going through to make sure everybody's kind of updated their totals for people, make sure we have our leaderboards set that we can then email it out to our members at the end of the week. So every Thursday, that'll be one where we make sure everybody's been updating all of the information into it for us to send out to people.
And this is such great information, Matt. So I hope our listeners and viewers are taking notes, because I think the idea here that, and so many people do this, you're not alone, right? And myself included, that our first approach to management is like, well, I hired good people. I'll just trust them. They'll all do what they said they were going to do, right? Well, nope, they won't. It's not because they're bad people, right? It's not because we hired the wrong people. It's just because they're busy. They're busy and there's a lot of things they're juggling. And not everyone's amazing at managing themselves or their time. And so we have to have follow-up processes. We have to have accountability processes in place, right, to make sure tasks get complete. And I think the two tools that you mentioned here, everyone has access to, right? You can do accountability publicly in meetings. Have everyone report on the status of their project or their tasks or their key metrics in a meeting. So they have that kind of public accountability of reporting out to everyone that they did or they didn't do their stuff. I mean, like, what an easy way to do it. A little bit of that peer pressure, I think, is actually really valuable. Say, oh, I'm going to have to come to this meeting every Wednesday and tell people, did I put in my numbers? Did I collect those videos and images? Right? Everyone will see that I'm on my stuff or not. And then also, I think, using something like Google Docs, simple, cheap tool where you manage a project by creating a new doc and then assigning tasks where everyone can see what's done. And that way, you don't have to run around as the owner and manager asking everyone if they're on track or not, right? They report to you, right? Part of owning a task in a business as an employee, right, is reporting to my manager on how it's going. And I think that's something I see you're doing so well. So bravo. Yeah. Anything you would add to what you've been learning so far?
I think we see it a lot in kind of unicorn size stuff. I think sometimes there's this thinking, this need that it needs to be overcomplicated, and there's like this gigantic problem solving type of thing. And I think simplicity works, especially for almost all of our levels. Every time you guys send anything out, it is a pretty bare bones, simple. It's on Google Forms. It's easy. And that's kind of always in my guiding light of it, of they do more than we do. Their complexity is far bigger than ours. If theirs is all on an easy Google sheet, ours can be an easy Google sheet. And it's free, it's simple, everybody has access to it. And all you need is the simple task of keeping the ball moving forward. And that's all it has to do, in my mind. With it.
I think that's so smart. I mean, simple is just always better. Simple is just always better. And our businesses don't need to be that complex, right? Sure, there's a lot to juggle some days, right? But running a training gym, and even a series of training gyms, right, does not have to be rocket science. You can use simple processes and procedures and accountability tools to effectively Yeah. Well, to maybe start wrapping things up here, I'm curious, as you think about your next few chapters of growth, what's on the horizon for you? What are you what are you keeping your eyes on in terms of trying to continue doing all the things we talked about today? Continuing to shift your mindset, continue to change your team's roles, continue to make new tasks sticky. How are you thinking about the next chapter of your growth right now?
So with the teaching at the university level, that was part of my idea with that, is to get better interns and to really have that tied up. That way, when we do need to hire again, we have an easy pool to hire from. We have that access and people around. So kind of the first, I think my next series of bottlenecks was going to be kind of hiring process. So now we have things in place that we know we can utilize from our previous hire. So that's kind of the biggest one. The mindset shift has been easy for me once I made that shift, but kind of getting into kind of the staff shifts will be a lot bigger, where the next hire will have to pull certain people from the floor a little bit more to make them then do more managerial work. And I think that's going to be the next big hurdle for us is going to be, all right, you don't listen to just me now. It's now, me and Helen. Helen's in charge of these four things, and she'd be pulled off the floor a little bit. So I think that'll be the biggest hurdle, is those role shifts and how the clients then perceive those role shifts as well.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, we'll have to have you back on the podcast in another 6 months and talk about lessons learned there, because in a business like ours that is continuously growing, which means it's continuously changing. And that constant change isn't a bad thing as long as we're managing it well. And all the tips you shared today, I think, are fantastic tips for managing change. So I'm so glad we had this conversation. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. Yeah,
for any listeners who want to learn more about Trilogy or follow you, where can they find you on the interwebs?
We're most active on Instagram. It's Trilogy Fitness Systems is the handle. And then if you want to see me dorky stuff on my dog, it's just Matt Kasee, Kasee.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for this great conversation. And congrats again on your wedding, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Well, I hope you loved today's podcast. And forgive me, I want to remind you one more time, if you haven't already done so, head over to businessofunicorns.com, click the button, and get your free self-assessment, the ultimate training gym owner report card. I promise you're going to want to dig into this resource and get the support you need, finding crystal clarity on exactly where you need to be focusing to create a life and a business you love.